Achilles here on a good Monday morning, starting very early, and I'm going to quickly run through this video again. I think it's something to emphasize on, especially if you are in sales. If you are in sales and you're an entrepreneur that's in sales, your business, it can apply to entrepreneurship, it applies to businesses, it applies into any form where there's a trade that's going to happen, right? And today we're going to talk about it. A medical worker that prints his own salary. Okay, now what are we talking about? So a medical worker that's a salesman that prints his own salary. This is how we're going to get through it today. So first thing I want us to think about is when we look at the buyer and the seller. Like for example, I'm a property practitioner, I'm an investor, and I'm a developer, right? So I can see things. Why? Because I decided to go into a market where I can dominate the demand and the supply, right? And that is for me, as I'm developing in that sphere, that is my desire to run into the highest that I possibly can, right? But the first thing I had to identify was that there's certain things that I cannot do unless I understand the buyer's mindset and understand the seller's mindset and understand the market desire, right? So the first thing you have to understand is, what are you selling, why are you selling it, and who's benefiting? And now we're going to go deeper into that. So the first thing is we need to help identify the individual's dream, vision, goal, purpose, and find the desire. Help him find the desire. Step one. If he doesn't have one, he walks in the dealership, he walks into the office, he's like, I want to do this, I want to do this. His mind is there, he knows he has to achieve a goal, but he has no desire, he has no process, and he has no execution. Identify, process, execution. Right. So the first thing is you're going to help him identify. So the first thing is you need to be able to have the skill of making him dream. So what are we going to do? We're going to identify and find the desired reality, the outcome, the future desired vision that he wants within his current reality, his current capabilities, to ensure that we give him a realistic expectation of what he can achieve with his current abilities and his faith element. We need to help him understand that he can outgrow the situation and circumstances that he is in. So you have to take him, we're going to call this the epiphany moment. What does Grant Cardone, the Elliott Group, and Russell Brunson all have in common? They all believe in the epiphany bridge. They word it different, but they all have the same concept. Taking them through a process that elevates the buyer into a higher sphere that gives them a dopamine rush, and your face is the picture of that dopamine rush. And every time that he has a habitual, repetitive repeat of that memory, you're the person that's burned into the dopamine system, and he's, in his system, right? When he looks at neuroplasticity, right, you are his neurons, your face. Poof. When he sees that card, he sees your face. And that's how we start networking. Because look at networking like ants. Maybe it's a tiny ant, but many tiny ants start building an ecosystem. So one happy customer is very important to understand the ecosystem that's developing around it. Because that's how you build the network. Second one, right? We help him process the desired reality, outcome, and product. We often create desire to help him endure to the execution plan. Now the second part, right, is we have to strategize and process the future product visually and the potential experience of that desired reality, product, and outcome. So now you've got to give him a taste. How is that going to experience? How is it going to affect his life? How is it going to feel when he comes into that sphere, he finishes that development, he gets that house, or he sells that house, or he buys that car, he sells it out, or he gets this product? How is it going to impact his life as an individual who has his own struggles, his own pain? How can it be a monumentary moment that gives him an epiphany desire, makes him feel like, there's so much more than this desire, that broken car. If I just work a little bit harder, we help you get the finance and you can get that car that makes life easier. It's an asset because that car is helping you produce an income, right? Or that house, if we can, that house, yes, it's maybe a bit broken, right? But we use an AI app, we show him what it can be, and if he just works a little bit hard, we show him that his reality can change. Okay. So the second one is what we are doing now is we are helping him process it. Now you make him envision it, taste it, feel it, the impact. Now the moment it impacts his life, it's going to improve his life. And what's going to happen? The epiphany moment, right, is busy building. It's building now, it's growing, and you're in this process with him. But now, as Russell Brunson spoke about the epiphany bridge, there's rails. So now you took up step one, identify the bridge, you're flying over the bridge now, you're walking. But there's railways, and those railways are adversity, challenges, circumstances, situation, and of course, emotional trauma. There's something in that, and you now have to navigate through this so he doesn't fall off this side, he pulls back, because the moment he turns back, he's going to fall off that bridge, right? So now we have helped him, because the reality is now, the problem is now, the circumstances can cause a discomfort, complacency, stagnation, and now what's going to happen is he's going to hinder himself, because the human nature also always wants instant gratification instead of enduring to the consumer reward system in your brain. It's easier to have instant gratification, have that habitual dopamine rush, than fulfilling the journey and getting that, we call that the consumer incentive, consumer reward, the serotonin that brings everything together and gives you a sense of reward, right? So the dopamine is the rush, the process, the pursuit, and the serotonin is the consumer fulfilling the vision when he receives that consumer reward, right? So now you have to help him through that, because the biggest challenge is you have to endure that the process in the product that you are creating, or the system, right, in the process is so well mannered that it eliminates his comfort zone, because you are doing what is discomforting for him. He doesn't have the ability to do that, what's uncomfortable. That's your job, right? And once you get that sorted, you're able to help this individual to a higher standard of his life. We are servants. We are there to serve, empower, and produce a part of that person. Remember, what is legacy? The memories of what we have done, the impact that lives on the heart of people and is passed down in generations of what you have done for that individual, and the memory that's lived within his heart. Third one, structure. Now we're going to go into the technical side. Structure, execution plan, right? We now have to help the individual help himself. Help him to achieve that epiphany bridge moment, taking the current reality and creating a structure and an execution plan to offer the reality and uncomfortability, the circumstances. Okay, so what does it mean that we are offering the uncomfortability, right? He has to understand that there's change coming, right? And that the circumstances can be uncomfortable. But because we have a process in place, we're going to eliminate that discomfort as much as we can, that he doesn't have to stress. Help him find a place to rent while he's doing the product, while he's buying the new house. Help him through the financial process of his financing a car. He's buying a car. Help him get involved in his emotional understanding of what is going on with his life, so you can eliminate the uncomfortability. Okay, and whatever necessary steps is needed to take to ensure that this individual ensures that his reality now becomes the dream reality, becomes a physical reality. We have to ensure that we proceed with him through the whole future, making sure the epiphany moment is achieved. And how are we going to do that? We have to help him overcome potential obstructions and hindrances and his own complacencies. This process can be agonizing, but the reward is changed for generations. How many times did you find that if you're a good salesman, the child comes back to buy a car? The child comes back to find a house. And in my experience, the salesman who sold my mom's house sold my second house to me and my third one. My second one, right? And helped me sell the third one as well. So now we have to understand, this is the process. Okay, it takes a bit more. But now when he fulfills that goal, he climbs into a new car, he walks into the new house, he experiences the upgrade in life, he experiences that epiphany high, that consumer reward incentive in his brain becomes a new habitual reality for him. Boom, you're the face on that, and then your network starts growing. Your voice, your reputation everything starts expanding because of what you are able to do for that individual. The same as the epiphany goes positive, it can go negative. Guys, it's Coach Julius here. Blessings to you, and I look forward to making more videos.